safe streets, vibrant neighborhoods, successful business and commerce. These are things that make a healthy community. We are a diverse community, rural, suburban, urban, a multitude of languages and ethnicities, ages and experiences. We are a collaborative community. Public-private partnerships make us a model community that others want to follow. It is what makes us unique. It is what makes us strong. The employees of Kent County reflect our diversity and seek to serve our communities.
People in this county, in this area, we wrap our arms around each other. We come together to collaborate, to solve problems. We're all working for the good of the whole. And I think that's wonderful. And you can see it. You can see it as you drive around Kent County.
Our impact starts the day a baby is born and a birth certificate is issued, to protecting children from deadly diseases through vaccination, to the public safety and justice provided by law enforcement and the courts, to offering veterans services and caring for the elderly. Every day we work to keep our communities robust.
I think if you are somebody who is interested in serving your community, in building a strong knowledge base and a good group of people to work with, then the county is one of your best employment opportunities out there. It's been completely rewarding in every way I could possibly explain for 26 years, and I feel like I grow every single day still today.
Leading these dedicated employees, our 19-member Board of Commissioners and our County Administrator Controller, along with our elected officials and appointed department directors, placing emphasis on civic involvement, quality housing, vibrant neighborhoods, and strong, solid infrastructure to allow businesses to thrive. Professional, dedicated, collaborative, and innovative.
Behind the scenes, collaboration between foundations, charitable organizations, nonprofits, for-profit businesses, public sector demonstrated through the county, the city of Grand Rapids, the townships, all the cities and the villages in our area. If we don't come together, then we will not have the strength that we have today, and I only hope to build upon that.
Our aim is to make our communities the best they can be. We are involved in exciting development projects, sustainable recycling programs, and creative progressive prevention programming. We partner with elected officials, impacting policy ideas that become great achievements. We seek opportunities to reach out into the community and offer our services to help our residents make Kent County thrive.
Our relationship is solid, both from a staff standpoint at the county level as well as the Board of Commissioners. And they understand what we do and the benefits that we can do for the community, and vice versa. We couldn't do what we do without the help of Kent County.
While most of us are busy running our lives, Kent County's elected officials, administrator controller, and over 1,600 employees are serving the communities where we live our lives, so we can all have a place we are proud to call home. Kent County, its life well run.
Bring the hammer down.
Bring the hammer down.
Bringing the gavel.
Well, thank you, everyone. This is the 14th of April. Tomorrow is income taxes are due, but I think you got
Extended it
till Monday, so
for you for
if you're
Christmas.
like me, you're probably putting them all. We'll begin the meeting with public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to us? No one? Thank you. Next item is the consent agenda. Need approval?
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Questions? Anyone care to remove anything from the agenda? Not. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Item 3. Mary, please.
This is a request to recommend to the board to approve $161,551 in medical support incentive payments and $124,353 in additional Title 4D cooperative reimbursement revenues to the 2016 Friend of the Court budget, and to add 2 road patrol deputy positions to the Sheriff Department to provide enforcement services for the Friend of the Court. In August 2015, the State Court Administrator's Office notified the Friend of the Court that the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services would begin providing incentive payments to counties for medical support reimbursement. The FOC estimates that its incentive earnings will average $150,000 annually, but has been informed by the state that for fiscal year 2016, payments will total approximately $313,000, which includes incentive payments for previous years. The FOC is requesting, and the sheriff supports, using a portion of these funds to add 2 Sheriff Road Patrol deputy positions to be assigned to the friend of the court to focus entirely on warrant enforcement activities on the more than 4,000 warrants issued annually. The annual cost for wages and benefits for the 2 deputies is $244,166. Additional one-time costs of $163,821 will be incurred in fiscal year 2016 to purchase vehicles, uniforms, and equipment. Due to timing, total costs for 2016 are estimated to be $285,904. Any revenues received in excess of this amount will be used to reduce general fund transfer to the FOC budget. Since 2/3 of the cost of personnel and the non-recurring items are also eligible to be reimbursed by the federal government under the FOC's Title 4D grant, the FOC will request an amendment to the grant to include these additional expenses. The additional revenues from the incentive payments and Title 4D funding are expected to cover all costs associated with the deputies in future years. In the event that funding is eliminated or decreased, the positions will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to the fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations. And this item was recommended for approval by the Legislative and Human Resources Committee at its March 22 meeting.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Questions? Carol?
So bottom line cost to the appropriation from the general fund is how much? 2.8? Got a lot of numbers, but I didn't follow that too.
Okay.
I'm going to ask Wendy Charbonneau, she's the fiscal person for the friend of the court, to come answer that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The funds are eligible for a 66% reimbursement through our Title 4D grant. The remaining 34% will be funded through this new medical support incentive. So there is zero county
Zero
general fund
county
contribution.
general. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question? No?
Well, I guess if that's my question, I don't know if it's more in line with the Legislative Human Resource Committee in the sense of what the folks are doing as opposed to, as the bullet points explain, it's all paid for. And so, though, if we're getting the dollars for the medical incentive, though we're going to fund 2 deputies to go out and help serve warrants and follow up on warrant issues, though, is that related to the warrants related to support and getting benefits and stuff for children? And I mean, it's like we're getting reimbursed for medical stuff and we're spending it on warrants, but are they?
Are you tying it together?
Yeah. But then
Okay.
again, it's staff recommendation and it's paid for, so we support that.
Yes, it's related. They're all Title 4D eligible services relating to child support enforcement. These are child support bench warrants for non-payment. And by giving us this new revenue source, SCAO is recommending that we use these monies for new 4D initiatives and activities. So this is a very good fit for us to enforce those child support bench warrants.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else? Please.
Just seeing the annual volume of demand, if you will, kind of makes me mad, that we have to do this. But I think it's a very important thing. But what's the likelihood that the funding won't be there in future years? And what will we do if the funding isn't there to kind of service this need in the community?
Being this is relatively new, they just initiated this medical support enforcement reimbursement. We've had the Title 4D grant for child support activities for a long, long time, many, many years. That's a grant through Office of Child Support through the state and the federal government. If something should change, we would come back to the board and reevaluate at that time.
Okay, great, thank you.
Anyone else? Please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to comment as probably the only single mother that's actually had child support have to send someone out. This is desperately needed. So I think it's a very good thing.
Maybe just putting the word on the street that there's going to be a couple of deputies out getting these bench warrants taken care of. We'll bring a few others in. It might have some spin-off value that's we don't anticipate. If there are no other questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Item 4, please.
This is a request to recommend to the board to accept a 2016 underage drinking enforcement grant from the Michigan State Police through its Office of Highway Safety Planning, and to appropriate $10,588 to the 2016 Sheriff Department Special Projects Fund. The Michigan State Police has approved funding for Kent County in the amount of $10,588 in order to increase enforcement of underage drinking. One of the most serious and unintentional outcomes of underage drinking relates to the deaths and injuries that result from subsequent traffic crashes. The goal under this grant are to ensure that minors are not served alcohol at licensed facilities. Alcohol compliance checks will be conducted at approximately 25 liquor licensed establishments by September 25th, 2016. The grant funds will be used strictly for costs associated with overtime wages and benefits of the deputy. It is estimated that approximately 175 hours of underage drinking enforcement will take place under the grant, and the grant period is February 29th through September 30th, 2016.
Okay, thank you. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Side right around Stan. Go ahead, Stan.
Just a quick question. So the grant is more geared to the sale of alcohol to minors, or is it the problem of minors drinking?
Probably one and the same.
Good morning. The specific enforcement effort is typically on selling
Okay.
of alcohol to minors.
Okay, thanks.
So if they can't buy it, they can't consume it, I guess. Huh? That's the.
Theory.
Harold, do you have a question?
Yes, please, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is going to be additional hours spent in this, it's not replacement.
Correct. What we normally do, and there is some normal hours spent already towards this effort, obviously, but this is specific efforts, like we will go out in a specific time period and try to hit multiple stores at the same time, so we're in quick succession of each other so that there's not much time for them to know that we're making these types of buys. So this is additional hours that are spent, and that's one of the conditions of the grant.
Thank you. Thank you.
David?
Yeah, it's hard to get questions out this morning only because, I mean, $10,500, 175 hours, it's better than a stick in the eye. However, you know, I mean, how much reporting do we do on this? And yeah, and I guess 175 hours in addition to how many hours do we spend on this?
You know, obviously, this is an ancillary duty of our normal work as law enforcement officers. So, you know, to the extent that we get a complaint in a normal course of business, we will follow up on the complaint of a normal course of business.
Right.
I couldn't put a number on how many hours we spend towards underage drinking because it's such a big issue. Obviously, it can be related to a MIP party that we go to in the middle of the night. It can also be related to going and attempting to make a buy at a local convenience store. So there's so many facets to it, I guess I would say. In terms of this specific grant, there are target tasks as part of the grant, and these buys are part of it, where you'll send an underage person in to make a buy, and then obviously cite the store owner if they do make a sale. So we do count how many we do count how many outcomes there are. We report that up to the state. They compile it with other information and try to get some more statistical orientation to what's going on in the state as a whole and in our community. And I guess, did that answer your question, or?
As much as I can clarify my question, yes.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I had one, but she answered it in the course of answering.
Okay, thank you, Stan.
Then I guess the quick question on the legal side is that if someone is found selling to a minor, there's fines to the cashier, the store. Where does that money go? Is this to say,
That's money collected under normal citations, and it would go to the state. I don't know if it ends up back into this money to do enforcement. I can't answer that question, but we don't retain it locally.
so one could possibly conclude that the state put this grant out for a revenue enhancement that we're doing for them? Is that?
I am surmising that they're putting this grant out to try to prevent underage drinking.
I would hope that's the goal. I would hope that's the goal.
Yes.
You know, if no one has any questions,
See, you're rubbing off.
it would be interesting sometime in the future, maybe at the end of the summer, when you can come back and say, you know, here's kind of how it worked out. Here's what happened. I mean, without a lot of specifics, but those
Sure.
be-
We keep those statistics, and I'll be absolutely happy to have somebody compile those for us and bring back to you.
All right, thank you. If there are no other questions, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Item 5.
This is a request of the board to recommend to adopt the 2016 Equalization Report. The Bureau of Equalization has completed its review of the 2016 assessment rolls of the 21 townships and 9 cities of Kent County. The Bureau recommends adoption of the state equalization value of the real and personal property in the total combined amount of approximately $24.13 billion. This is an increase of 4.74% from the 2015 SEV of $23.04 billion. The state taxable value of the real and personal property is $21.12 billion, an increase of 0.53% over the 2015 STV of $21 billion. The equalized values have been prepared in accordance with MCL 211.34 as amended, and in time to be submitted to the State Tax Commission by the required deadline of May 2nd.
Thank you. Been moved, support?
Support.
Questions? Dave?
Morning, Matt.
Good morning, how are you today?
Still tired and confused. The biggest question is, wow, the equalized value goes up almost 5% and the taxable value goes up barely 0.5%. How come?
Well, there's two major factors that contribute to that. The first one obviously is Proposal A, and the system is working the way that it's been designed. Our consumer price index for property tax purposes this past year was 0.3%. So even though residential values in the county went up on average 8%, or not on average, in total 8%, varied by community, each individual property his taxable value was limited to the 0.3%. So Proposal A is the first element to answer your question. The second major element is 2016, we are seeing the first year where the major impact of the personal property tax reforms are really kicking in. This year, we saw a 20% reduction in our personal property tax component of the real and personal property ad valorem roll. And that represents a reduction in the value of $400 million. I think it's $414 million overall, attributable to the property tax on the personal side. So whereas before the personal property contributed almost 10% of our value, this year it's gone down to 7%. So that is the second and very significant factor that's in play this year. Important to note, though, is that with the personal property tax reforms, all of the losses that are attributable to not just the county, but also the cities, the townships, the schools, and all of the taxing authorities, we are tracking the amount of that loss. And the other side of that reform is the revenue reimbursement. So while that the revenue reimbursement from the state is They say it's certain, but I think we're always conservative in estimating what the state's going to make do with their promises of reimbursement to local units and school districts. But at this point, we've been told, and I received an update just a few weeks ago, that they're expecting the reimbursement for the loss of that $400 million back to the general fund. So even though it's not there in my numbers on the personal property tax anymore, a significant portion of that reimbursement, especially for those essential services, it's called the ESA, or the Essential Services Assessment, a significant portion of that we are anticipating, at least in 2016, with current budget conditions at the state, to be reimbursed for a significant portion of that loss. So while the taxable value and the tax revenues that's generated from that would have been more had this reform not been in place, the revenue is just going to be showing up somewhere else. So it's gone from my report, but not necessarily gone from the county budget.
You got that?
Well, quick follow-up?
Sure.
I mean,
please.
so when, the difficulty is, like, we would have collected this predominantly in the summer, and the state fiscal year starts October 1, and when you say 16, does that mean they were gonna write a check before October 1 or after October 1? And all of that question comes down to, will we have a whiteboard session at some time so we can kind of see this is where the money was reduced and here's where the money came in, and we can kind of watch those things as opposed to just kind of getting lost? And the state, because is it part of revenue sharing now, or it's a separate check they're writing us? Or how do they make us whole?
Okay.
I guess is the question.
There are several questions there. Some I can answer, some probably would be better coming from the administrator's office. In the first note, in terms of the timing, I am aware that that there's actually still technical fixing bills right now, as this is the first year that the state is implementing the ESA for the reimbursements so significantly that in terms of the dates, whether it's October 1st or all that, that's, I think, being determined right now. The assurance is there that the revenue will be there, but exactly in what timeline or schedule, that's actually sort of very actively being discussed right now. In terms of the follow-up about a whiteboard session, Mary might be able to talk a little bit more about that, but I would think that once we know the timing, you will have a much better idea about when we'll be able to proceed and see how the ESA fits into the county budget cycle. You had a couple of other, is that good? Okay.
Yeah, we'll save it for the whiteboard session.
Okay.
Well, David, just we can do those things, and we'll make sure that finance
Yeah, I mean,
helps us track that, so we
Yeah.
sometimes things come, they go, we don't know whether they're coming or going. And
I would imagine it would be part of our budget process as we have work sessions through the summer, looking, again, watching the revenue side. So,
Roger?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. Real quick, just wanted to point out the equalized value is almost back to 2007
Correct.
levels, almost 10 years to get us there. Now, I see the tax bill went up a little bit.
Yep.
Is there a lag to that? Okay, so I'm looking at it going up a couple $100,000 or whatever. Is there a little bit of lag before we realize that increase as far as tax revenue coming in?
Well, the increase in the taxable value will show up in our 2016 collections, so there's not necessarily a lag there. In terms of the assessments overall in general being a lagging indicator, because we're always studying the market as it was 24 months from now. So to the extent that those numbers show up in 2016 values are more of a reflection of what happened in the market in late 14 and all of 15. So to that extent, there is a lag. But no, the taxable values that are reported here will be the ones that go out of the July tax bills.
Thanks.
Stan?
Thank you, Chair.
I'm sorry.
I've asked this question before. Of that 4.7% increase,
Yeah.
how much is new property, new construction, and how much of that is the catch-up when a property is sold and then it resets to the higher rate?
In
Or-
terms of the new value, I was able to sort of discern that. Let's just say in residential, for instance. In residential, the good news story is that I can now say what Dave Jager used to say to you, but before I took over, and that we went over $1 billion in assessed value in the residential class. 300 million of that was due to new construction. So within the residential, we had a market adjustment of $1 billion, and we had new construction of almost $300 million. So we've returned to something more to what we were familiar with the growth of West Michigan, and we can see it everywhere. So when you look at our overall increase in the assessed values, not an insubstantial amount of that is now due to the return of new construction in all the classes, commercial and industrial. You can see the cranes downtown. In terms of the percentage of value that is attributable to uncappings, I haven't gone through and done that yet. Getting the numbers to you for summary of all of the local units is our primary thing, and I haven't done a report, but I can certainly do that and follow up with you at a later time
At your convenience, yep, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Just to help my understanding real briefly, looking at some of the negative numbers, like Kentwood, SEV was down 0.5%, but the taxable value was down almost 3.5%. Is that still due in the numbers to the inflation cap, proposal A?
No, Kentwood and I think it was Lowell City was the other one that you saw a substantial reduction in. Those are very heavily concentrated in the loss of the industrial personal property. So our graphs are going to look a little skewed now because we're really reflecting the impact of an exemption as opposed to a market adjustment there. But nevertheless, that's the real-time graph in terms of where the value was and where it is. But for those two that were hardest hit on taxable value, that's due to the personal property tax exemption laws.
Okay, so that's similar like for Granville, 5.6% up, but then taxable value is down, would be industrial personal
And
property.
Granville, as you can imagine, is more heavily concentrated in commercial. And so they've got the mall and the growth area out there in the Rivertown Parkway. So they're not as heavily hit by the industrial personal property tax impact as some of those other areas.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, just a reminder, in about 10 or 15 minutes, we're going to be doing the same thing again at the commission meeting. So if you have any questions you haven't got answered or you think of something else, you're going to get another shot at it in a few minutes. So anything more for right now? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. We'll go to miscellaneous. Is there any miscellaneous? Then we're adjourned.
I am Kent County. I am Kent County.
I am Kent County.
We are 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 Kent County.
Ami, Kent County.
Somos Kent County.
Mas Ira, Kent County.
We are Kent County.
We are Kent County.
We are Kent County. Oh yeah.